Hello and welcome back to Pokemon Sun and Moon How-To Competitive. This is the second episode. In the first episode, if you missed it, go ahead and check it out because the second episode kind of builds off of what we did there. But in the first episode, we went and we chained for a almost 5 perfect IV Ditto. 4 perfect IVs, but it had it in all the things that really mattered. So, for our next level here, we're going to... Where is it? Morlul. We're going to be breeding a Morlul. We're going to try to get it as many perfect IVs as possible. As you can see, this Ditto has perfect IVs in pretty much everything that counts that we want for this Morlul. We don't really care about speed or attack. So if we can get these 4 perfect IVs on a Morlul, then we will be great. But one thing I wanted to do real quick, the reason I'm at the battle tree is because I did get a question about how you activate that little IV checker that I was just using. Well, you do have to beat the game, and you have to hatch 20 eggs. And there's a guy, an ace trainer, who stands right about here in the battle tree. And if you talk to him before you've hatched 20 eggs, he'll be all like, "Oh, you're not impressive. I only care about people who impress me," or something like that. And once you have hatched 20 eggs, he'll be like, "Oh, cool, you're amazing, blah, blah, blah. Here, have this IV checker." Kind of weird, but this IV checker in this generation is super duper convenient. So, hey, I won't complain. So, for this, what we're gonna do, this is part of the series. There's not really a set number of eggs you need to hatch. It's pretty much all boiling down to luck. Now, there are things we can do to put things in our favor. So, for this Ditto is going to be playing the part of the male Pokemon in this case, and Ditto is going to be holding a Destiny Knot. Why is that? Because Ditto has the IVs that we're trying to pass down, and if you attach a Destiny Knot, you're going to have a better chance of all of those IVs being passed down to the egg. Now, from what I understand, it's not a guaranteed chance, as evidenced by the fact that I have to hatch dozens and dozens of eggs sometimes to even get 3 perfect IVs, but it increases your chances by a lot. I think at least 1 or 2 of the IVs will be passed on. Then again, I think that also includes the imperfect IVs. So, anyway, for this Morlul, we're going to be giving the Morlul an Everstone. Because this Morlul, I don't know if this is the ideal nature for it to have, but it has a pretty decent nature for what we want. So we're going to give it an Everstone. And the Everstone pretty much guarantees that every single egg hatched will be of this nature. And actually, yeah, it is a definite guarantee. That one is for sure. You know that every Pokemon hatched, as long as this Morlul is holding an Everstone, will have the same sassy nature. Okay, so let me put these Tapus in a box for a second, and we're also going to get out our Magby. Magby, because Magby has Flame Body, and Flame Body is going to cut in half the amount of steps we have to take to hatch eggs, which is going to be very helpful because, once again, just like the last episode, this process is going to involve some patience. Possibly even more so. Because you essentially just have to wait until you get what you want. And this is where you have to judge your cost versus cost-benefit sort of a consideration there, because, for example, I have not yet bred a 6 perfect IV Pokemon. I've bred a few 5 perfect IV Pokemon, which is pretty awesome. But I have pretty much not gone for more than that because it takes enough time, unless you get really lucky right away, it can take enough time to even do that. So we're going to see how many perfect IVs we can get on a Morlul. And if possible, let's see if we get a good one by the end of this episode. If it's starting to take too long of a time, I'll just show you the best one I got, and then I'll kind of keep working behind the scenes so that we have a decent specimen to work on in the next episode. But anyway, we're going to go here to the Pokemon Nursery. If you're familiar with how the Pokemon Daycare worked, it's pretty similar. But in the Pokemon Daycare, you left your Pokemon in, and it also, in addition to allowing you to breed Pokemon, it raised your Pokemon's levels. And depending on how long you spent, or I guess it's based on steps, how many steps you took while your Pokemon were in the daycare, they'd level up a certain amount, and you'd have to pay a certain amount depending on how much they leveled up. Now, the plus of this was if they didn't level up at all, you only had to pay 100 Pokédollars, which is something, but it's not much. In this, it's different. They do not raise your Pokemon. They are simply here for the purpose of breeding, because I'll level up in the Poképelago. In the Poképelago, that's it. I'll Level Up in the Poképelago pretty much handles leveling your Pokemon now at this point. So the daycare is kind of irrelevant. Now we have the nursery, pretty much exclusively for Pokemon breeding. Now, the thing is, they will charge you a flat rate of 500 Pokédollars to pick up your Pokemon again, which kind of stinks if you already had a Pokemon at a high level that, like, wouldn't have normally leveled up in the daycare. It's more expensive, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad, because most likely, unless you just want one Pokemon and you just want a certain nature or whatever, you don't care what the IVs are, if you're not trying for anything too specific, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time, then yeah, it kind of stinks to spend a lot of money there, especially because money can be tight here if you're not sure what to do. And look at that, we got an egg already. But really, it's not so bad, because, like, if you're like me and you're going to be spending the amount of time that you're probably going to be spending trying to get as perfect of an egg as you can, then, yeah, 500. Big whoop-de-doo. Let me turn the volume down a little bit. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run up and down here with Tauros. I know this isn't the longest route that you can run around, and you do have to go to you have to load the different screens. But while we're waiting to fill up our party with eggs, this is a pretty good way to do, because you can keep running by the nursery lady. And the way you'll know that the nursery lady has an egg for you is she'll kind of cross her arms and kind of have a look like she's thinking, like she's pondering something, like that. So we're going to go here, we're going to pick up a second egg. And what I found, the amount of time to hatch an egg varies, of course, but it's pretty easy if you have a Pokemon with Flame Body. Unfortunately, we don't have O-Powers to help with hatching, and I'm trying to think... Well, there was a thing you could get in X and Y that increased the odds of finding eggs, so you could get eggs faster, but it didn't really help with hatching. So we don't have O-Powers in this game, but I haven't found it to take too ridiculously long to hatch most eggs. Now, most Dragon Pokemon, I guess, have a long time to hatch, so it does depend on the Pokemon. One thing I've had a problem with is sometimes I'll get an egg right away, and then when I'm waiting for more eggs, it'll seem to take me forever. So I guess there is an element of randomness in that, in whether or not you get an egg. But I've heard, if I remember correctly, if the two Pokemon are different species, they have a higher chance of producing an egg, and also if the Pokemon have different trainer IDs, they have a better chance of producing an egg. I'm pretty certain that is what I read, or actually I read it, I think, in this game. I think they said it. But you know what's funny? Is that they say they don't seem to like each other very much, and that means that they're making eggs. I don't get that. Like, the two seem to get along, they're not going to make eggs. Now, it also would say the two seem to play with other Pokemon rather than each other. That means they're definitely not going to produce eggs, which makes sense. But why would they produce eggs if they don't like each other? I don't know. This is the Pokemon birds and the bees, the Pidgeys and the Beedrills. I don't know how it all works. It's funny how the breeder is always perplexed. Oh, we're gonna get our first egg to hatch. Awesome. But it's funny how they're always perplexed that eggs appear. I guess it's not that they don't know how it works, I guess, how eggs are made, but I guess it must be that they've never actually witnessed an egg being laid, I guess. You could do a whole theory on that. Like, it must be one of those things where they just turn their back and next thing they know there's an egg. They never actually see the egg being produced. Okay, so we've got our first Morlul, so I'm just going to go ahead, since we're still nearby the PC, I'm going to go ahead and check it out right away. See what it is. See how it's going. At some point you're going to start filling up boxes, and then you're going to want to pick out sort of any ones that are not up to snuff and go ahead and release them. But now we're going to start. I'm going to do this marking system. Okay, I think I mentioned this. I mentioned this in the last episode. HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. So, this one only really has defense and special attack. Everything else is kind of meh. But we're gonna start it out over... Well, let's start a new box. It won't take too long to fill it. Well, not that it won't take too long. It probably will take a while. If I keep all of them, though, it won't take that long. Okay, so the process is pretty much going to go like this. Really, I could cut away at any time here, but I just want to show a few more times, like, I'll wait until I get another egg, or until we get a couple more eggs to hatch. But really, there's not much more to say, other than just do that process, go and hatch eggs, and check every time, you know, every time you hatch a new egg, or if you're doing your egg hatching in another area, maybe wait until you hatch all the eggs in your party and then check them all out. That also works as well. I'm just kind of like, I've got to see right away what kind of Pokemon it is. Or I should say, what kind of IVs it has. But that's just what I do. So, okay, we've got another Morlul gonna hatch. Nothing special here. Kind of gotta go through this whole screen. Man, if I hatch a shiny, just by chance, that would be pretty awesome. But with my luck, it would have terrible IVs. Okay, but so as you can see, the 2 perfect IVs that last Morlul had were perfect IVs that the Ditto had, but all the perfect IVs did not get passed down. Okay, and we're gonna get another egg. Alrighty. Let's go and check this one out. Let's turn on the judge down here in this lower side. Okay. So we've only got 1 perfect IV here, and in this case, I'm just gonna come right out and release this one, because unfortunately, I know this one's not gonna do us very, very good. Now, one thing I tend to do, and I should probably look this up, because I'm not 100% certain about this thing, but what I've done before is once I get a more, like, let's say when I was breeding for Vulpix, when I started getting Vulpix with really, not the IVs I wanted, but they started having a lot more perfect IVs than the Vulpix I started from, which was 0, then I would start to use that Vulpix instead of the other Vulpix, so I'd swap it out. And I seem to get, in general, better IV results from that. Now, I'm not sure, because only one Pokemon has the Destiny Knot, I'm not sure if the other Pokemon's IVs are still taken into account, or if it's just sort of a random thing still on, like, let's say either it gets Ditto's IVs or it doesn't, or if it's still a chance, like, that it can get Ditto's IVs or Morlul's IVs or be random. I'm not 100% certain on that part, but so right now it's more of a superstition for me, but as soon as I get a Morlul with, let's say, 3 perfect IVs, and if I'm going for another one, I'll swap out that Morlul. So basically what I'm going to do right now, I might as well let one more egg hatch. And then I'll cut out the video, so you guys don't have to see this annoying process, and also so I don't have to fill my computer to the brim, fill up all my storage. I will cut away, and I'll come back when I have a Pokemon that's worth switching for in the daycare, or maybe if I get really lucky, a Pokemon that has all the IVs that we're looking for. So we got this other Morlul, and we're gonna just go back and check it out. But pretty much this is all it is. There's not a whole lot of finessing to be done. You want to get an Everstone, which you can find in a variety of places, one of which being I guess it's not really a rematch, but after you beat Mallow, I think it's Mallow? Is it Mallow's challenge? I think it's after you beat Mallow's challenge. I could be wrong on that one. Maybe it's Illima's challenge, and you can go to his house and you can challenge him to a battle, and then you get an Everstone, one of those. Oh, so another 1 perfect IV, Morlul. That is unfortunate. So let's go ahead and say goodbye. Alright. But anyway, you can get Everstones that way. I'm pretty sure with the Destiny Knot, the only way to get it is in, where do they sell it? Is it the Battle Tree? I think they sell it at the Battle Royal Station for, I forget whether it's 32 or 48 battle points, but so you gotta accumulate some battle points first before you can use those. But with that being said, I'm going to cut away here for a few minutes, and I'll be back hopefully with a decently IV'd Morlul. See you in a minute. Okay, so I was starting to get a little discouraged here because I was hatching kind of a bunch of eggs and not getting a whole lot, but I ended up switching to the 2 perfect IV Morlul that I had found, and then I found a 3 perfect IV Morlul, and I went a little bit more, and after only 2 or 3 more eggs, I got this 4 perfect IV Morlul, and its speed is even decent. Well, it's very good, so it's even pretty good. I mean, I've got a speed lowering nature, I'm not going for speed, but it's solid. I don't have good attack, but I don't need attack at all. So this is a specimen that has everything that I need. Therefore, we can say that I have finished in my task for episode number 2. So let me go ahead. I don't think there's any more eggs. I'm just going to go ahead and withdraw both of my Pokemon. I could always keep the Ditto in there, but you never know. I might find a better Ditto for a future breeding escapade. So let's go ahead and take these 2 back. Like I said, I was getting kind of discouraged, but when I think about what I got all the IVs I wanted, and I even got a little bit more in the speed department than I even cared to have. And considering that, it really didn't take as long as I figured it would. I guess it helped that the Ditto had all the perfect IVs I needed, and the ones that it didn't have, I didn't really need anyway. Because in my troubles in the past, I've kind of had to work my way up to it because the Ditto did not have exactly what I wanted. But anyway, so that's pretty much what all it does is you just need patience. Why do I keep talking and playing Pokemon? Real hard to do at the same time, apparently. Okay, so let me go ahead and deposit this thing. We've got our nice little Morlul here that we're going to use. I'm just going to put you offside. This is the one I finally used to breed. I got 3 perfect IVs here. 3 of the 4 that I wanted. This was one that hatched from this one. This was the first one that we hatched, and the one that I started using to breed. And then I switched to this one, and I hatched this one and this one. So I think it was the second egg after I switched to the latest Morlul. Yeah. So we're good. I'm just gonna finish this thing off by hatching this last Morlul egg. Because you never know. It could be even better. Could be 5 or 6 perfect IVs, and even though it would be IVs in things that we don't need, it would still be nice to have. If it were 6 perfect IVs, there would be no reason not to use it. So, let's go ahead and hatch this thing. Shouldn't take too much longer. Just for fun. So definitely comment me with any questions you have about this process. I explained to you, you have to hatch eggs, in fact, to get the IV checker. So you better start hatching those eggs. Maybe that's one thing to do. Get a whole box full of eggs and then get the IV checker and then sort them out. Then again, you kind of need the IV checker to check your Ditto. But yeah, let me know if there's anything else you don't understand. I'm gonna go and switch to this so that I don't have to hold down the B button all the time. Stoutland goes a little bit slower, but when you don't hold in B, it goes faster than Tauros. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this though because right now I'm just kind of killing time. This is kind of filler for the episode, but hey, we're just gonna find out if this last egg is anything nifty. But if not, we're gonna go ahead. I need to look up what EV spread I want to give my Morlul. I mean, I have a feeling it's gonna be max HP, but I don't know whether to do like just go full tank, max HP, max special defense, or give it some special attack. I have to figure out what I want to do with that. I'll research some things, see how other people have used Morlul, and then I'll work on it. In time for the next episode. The next episode I'll explain to you how to do everything you'll need to do to get yourself a nice fully EV trained Pokemon. And once we're done with this Morlul, I'll eventually find a Pokemon to get to level 100 and we'll talk about hyper training. And then for EV training, we'll talk a little bit about the Poképelago. It really is a long-winded kind of process with the Poképelago, but it is an option because the one bonus is if you would like to kind of EV train while you're playing through the main story of the game, or if you want to multitask, like while you're EV training one Pokemon, just kind of let it sit for a little bit and train another Pokemon. Like if you time it out right, you can get a little bit of your work done that way. It can be used properly, but the old-fashioned method for EV training is going to be the fastest for you, so that is what we're going to use in the next episode. Okay, this one's not so great, but we'll mark it down anyway. HP, defense, special attack. So yeah, we got really lucky with this Morlul here. Alright guys, let me actually move all these guys, since we didn't get a whole box full. We'll move it over to share another box. There you go. Okay guys, so in the next episode, we're gonna go ahead and EV train this little Morlul. We're gonna show you how it's done. In the meantime, if you have any questions, actually let's go back. Let's go back and look at little Morlul. That'll be the thing to end on. So if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you have any further questions, don't forget to comment. Leave a comment letting me know what other things you'd like to see me cover in this series. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you have not yet already and you want to stay up to date when my latest videos come out. Also, like my page on Facebook or follow me on Twitter. The links are in the description. And follow me on Twitch because I'll be doing battles with some of these Pokemon that I train up, and maybe I can battle against you guys, my viewers. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Pokemon Sun and Moon How to Competitive.